Earlier, it was Pine Hills.
There it is.
Hey, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting of the Madison Public Schools Board of Education meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to welcome all of our amazing school administrators who have joined us this evening to make a presentation later. Thank you all. Welcome. The school and community session is first on the agenda, and any public participation. Do you have anyone?
So the board welcomes public comment at meetings. We ask when speaking that you say your name and address. Comments are limited to 3 minutes in order for everyone to have an opportunity to speak. It should not be expected that the board or administration will respond, and it's not a time for discussion. If you are joining in person, raise your hand, or if you're online, raise your hand and you'll be called upon. Do we have anyone in person? Anyone online? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Next up, item 3 is the Board of Education Student Representatives Report. I see that Grace is missing this evening.
Yeah. Okay, hi everyone. So I have a good amount to go over. First off, we had the club fair last month, which was on September 30th. It was super successful, well organized. I know from my point of view, I saw so many students attend, so many students go to different tables. And I was actually able to see after, when clubs had their meetings after the club fair, their attendance had gone up a bunch. So many new freshmen join new clubs, which is always so amazing. This past Friday was our big school spirit day, and the senior picnic. So it was a super fun day for seniors. As you guys know, I think they all wear blue. They usually have blue paint, but it was substituted for blue powder, which was a much cleaner alternative. It did start off a little cold. I think it was freezing outside, but the seniors still made the most of it and had a super fun day. They didn't go to classes and they just had a fun day full of activities. And then at the end of the day was the pep rally, which was the whole school. The energy was so amazing. Each grade wears their color. So freshmen are yellow, sophomores are red, and juniors green, and then seniors obviously blue. So super fun to see everyone participating in their school colors, and again, everyone, it was just the best energy, just a super fun day for everyone. And then at the end of the night was the football game where everyone did also wear their colors as well, and that was also super well attended and just had the most energy. So it was a super fun day. I hope the seniors had a lot of fun because it is kind of their day. I wish Grace would probably want to talk about that, but on Friday as well, the German exchange program started again. So that is our 3rd year doing that. And they had a picnic on Sunday at the surf club to introduce them. And I know I've seen a bunch of them around the school, and they seem to be having a super fun time so far, so that's always awesome. The PSAT for 10th and 11th graders is this coming Friday and Thursday. So the 10th graders will take the PSAT on Thursday, and then the 11th graders will take the PSAT on Friday. Friday is also the midpoint of trimester 1, so time is really flying by quick. I know that surprised me to hear. And so the parent-teacher conferences will be on October 28th, so students will have early dismissal that day. And then we have plans in place for homecoming, which should be on November 1st. We are actually, usually our theme is semi-formal, but we're considering switching it up to either do Halloween or masquerade theme. So that could be a really fun change, and I think students get to vote on what theme they want to do. And then finally, student leadership has started sending out a tip about screen time in Mr. Salutary's weekly email. So a part of his weekly email will be a little section that is from students just saying one effect of screen time and devices, and then one tip that can help them and learn from about managing their time. And, that's pretty much it.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Thank you so much.
Bless you, guys.
Feel free to do your homework now.
Thank you.
Item number 4, the superintendent's report, Dr. Cook.
Yes, so we're thrilled to be here tonight to present our assessment results as we do every fall. And so as Gail brings forward the presentation, I just want to welcome, as you previously did, our administrators. And I always want to draw the board's attention. So when you're looking at numbers, this represents our students. So this represents our students' work, their results, and sometimes it's the results on one day when they're having a great day, and sometimes it's the results of having a bad day, and you know, the results might not be there. But we are very pleased, I think, when you look at the growth our students are making, and then also you know, the overall results. And I think that you know, that this is a big piece of our work, but it's not a daily focus. You know, that we do not stop instruction at any point to get ready for the test. You know, we are teaching well beyond the test, we feel, and you know, showing great results. So, you know, if you could just push to the next slide. So this is a slide that we created, you know, a few years ago to really highlight the amount of students taking the test. As the board's aware, you know, 2019, 2021, we were not seeing as many students taking the assessment. The national requirement, federal government requires 95%. And so where we run into some issues with that is, you'll see even just this past year in 2025 with participation by high needs students at the high school. So this represents really one student that would keep us under that 95% threshold. And we do make our best efforts, but even the guidance from the state says that if a student's IEP does not recommend, or if there's a parent opt-out, that we respect that. Ultimately, we have those conversations with families and encourage them to participate, but sometimes it just is not the right situation for that student. And then, as you know, our students have many opportunities to take the SAT beyond the school day. We'll have students that have achieved their results and not take the assessment. So just want to draw your attention. You know, the administrators at all levels put a lot of work into making sure we get you know, 95% or as close to 95%. But when you look at the number of students, that really does represent you know, about one student opting out that would shift that percentage pretty significantly if they were not opting out. So we're going to start with the high school. I always, you know, we talk about high school results. Always want to share too. This represents the work of our entire district leading up into the high school level. And so, you know, high school success is really our entire district success. So I'll turn it over to TJ Sonntag.
Thank you, Dr. Good. I'd just like to thank the board for inviting us this evening, as well as for your support. Have a lot of really good information to share. We're going to go pretty quickly, so if you have any questions, feel free to jump in. So there's a lot going on in this particular slide. If you take a look at this slide, this details our AP exam participation as well as our score detail. I call your attention to the blue line that's horizontal at the top. That's a combination of our enrollment of juniors and seniors since 2018 to now 2025. You could see a pretty steady decline in the total number of students making up those two classes. It's pretty significant. But if you look at the vertical lines, for example, exams taken, even though there was only 375 total juniors and seniors last year, there were 366 AP exams taken. If you look at the green lines previous to that, you can see a really steady increase over time, keeping in mind how much the enrollment has dropped. The orange line represents exams with a score of 3 or plus. You could see that number and that line continues to go up, which is really impressive. Number of students tested, again, even though our enrollment's dropping, the number of students tested continues to go up, and that's been a push of ours over the last several years. And the yellow line represents the number of students with a score of a 3 or more. So all of those are very positive. As the board knows, we offered extra help sessions, which is relatively new, a few years old now. 16 teachers offered that support. Students who attended found it to be very beneficial. Teachers shared during class time, they could focus more on content, and during the extra help time, they focus on test prep and, just exposure to the test. Our goal is to continue doing what we're doing and to see those numbers continue to rise on the vertical plane. This is, yes, sorry.
I just want to go back real quick because I know Diana's not here tonight, but in the past, she has raised questions as to the efficacy of the extra teaching that we do, the prep courses for the AP. And I think there's a great response to that program because we've invested a little bit as a board in that program, and she's right to question the efficacy. And I think what this table shows is probably partly due to the additional help from the preparation that they get. It's not only encouraging students to take a chance to take more AP classes, it's encouraging them to take the test or the exam at the end of the course, and they're also doing better. And those are three areas that are kind of significant for us because even though we're not, we don't like to focus too much on, the publications and where they rank us in the ranking services. The fact is, the ranking services, one of the things that they look at is AP, the number of students that take the AP exam and how they score at it. So this will probably in time increase our rankings, even though we're already in kind of rarefied air by those ranking organizations. So sorry, thank you.
No, thanks, Seth. So next slide, just a visual of some trends over the last several years of the percent of students who scored a 3 or higher on the AP test. And you can see, from the 80s to a 94% last year. Seth, I think that supports one of or several of the comments you just made. And just a graphic. Next slide is very difficult to look at just because there's way too much information on it. But this is a breakdown of each AP course and number of students who are enrolled, tested, and their individual scores. I'm not going to go over all of this because it's certainly information, but a few things that are worth noting. At Daniel Hand, we do not require students to take the AP test. That's really important. Some schools do, we do not. Students enrolled in AP courses as juniors are more likely to take the test than seniors, and one of those reasons is seniors, once they get selected or select their college of choice, sometimes the AP test won't matter and they'll withdraw from the session. A lot of our students will choose the UConn credit instead of the AP credit as well. So those are certainly some factors, and they impact that, courses where you see a high percentage of our students not only enrolled but taking the test versus other courses that are maybe a senior year course where students find out that they won't benefit in any way from taking the actual test itself. Pretty impressive numbers just, in themselves, but we wanted to give you that breakdown, and the teachers do appreciate the opportunity to provide those support sessions, once we get a little closer to the testing time. So if anyone has any questions about these particular details, I'll answer them. If not, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bodnar.
Okay, thank you, TJ, and good evening, everyone. This first slide is showing our scores on the ELA portion of the SAT in comparison to the DIRG. As you can see, we tied for third in the DIRG with Farmington. A year ago, we were fourth. This is giving us the historical trends on the ELA portion and of the SAT. You can see that similar to the DIRG in the state, our scores improved from last year, but ours did increase at a greater rate than those of both the DIRG and the state. Math, for the second straight year, we finished first in the DIRG. And if I go to the historical trends, I'm sorry, hold on. Okay, going here, you can see that, again, our growth was greater than the DIRG in the state. And I would also note that if you compare us specifically to the DIRG, you see that even the 2 years where we were 1 point higher, we're well on more above the DIRG than we were at those times. So again, great results. This last slide shows us in comparison to the state in both categories with all DIRGs. being again looked at and viewed in this. One of the things that's important is to point out that if you combine our scores, we had an 1154 average SAT score for 2025. A year ago, that was 1139. And when people put their SAT scores, that's often what they give is the combined score, and that's just an impressive score. Any questions?
Good evening, everyone. I'm gonna talk just a few minutes about NGSS. NGSS is the science assessment that's given in grade 11 for the state. We are 7th in the state this year, which is almost, you'll see in a moment, exactly where we were last year. We wanted to share a little bit just comparison about the length of time that our students have taken on the during this exam, and also what we've done to try to build some capacity within students understanding the purpose for this exam. So this exam is a little different than EP or SAT, that it does not go on to colleges, it doesn't show up on a transcript, etc. So getting students to have a little bit more buy-in for this has really been where our efforts have been placed. The science department has done a really good job of presenting students with IABs, which are those interim assessments, kind of like a practice. So our students right now are taking PSATs, as you heard Keith say earlier. So they will get an experience similar to that in their classroom setting called an IAB. And our goal is to have every student at least exposed to an IAB before they sit for the exam in the springtime. Paul Mesnick, who's the coordinator, also did a really nice video prep, really explaining to the students why this test is important and why it matters. More so saying, you all have done the good hard work, you've sat in these science classes, you have learned the material, and we are just here to have you represent what you know. So getting them to buy in a little bit more, again, just trying to explain why this is important and why they should take it serious. And just to show the historical data similar to what you saw in the other assessments, we remain very consistent with 74% reaching proficiency at or above goal. Any questions for the high school?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So,
I think one piece to kind of point out or highlight with the high school results is if you look at over time, and Melanie just kind of spoke to this, the amount of students at the lower levels has decreased significantly. Like the ones on the AP test or the ones in NGSS is very low numbers when you look at that traditionally. And I think too, to just highlight the AP test is amazing to, it's, mathematically to say the amount of students going down, and then probably was the highest number of AP tests ever given by the English hand last year. When you look at that and just, incredible results when normally you'd see that drops, consistent with the number of students dropping or the result of dropping. Students dropping because you're putting more students, that experience with the test. So, thank you. Thank you.
So I'm gonna shift gears a bit and really kind of look at the district and how it's progressing towards those end results. These are different measures, different assessments. They are measurements that are standardized, and they're also common across the state of Connecticut. So we use the Smarter Balanced as our assessment suite, as mandated by the state of Connecticut. And we administer this assessment in grades 3 through 8 in ELA and mathematics. So we're going to go through the district Smarter Balance results from a higher perspective, and then we'll drill down to each building level so they can explain in greater detail about grade levels in their buildings. So this is an overview of the performance on the Smarter Balance by subject and by grade. And you will see each grade listed for ELA and mathematics. You will also note that grade 3's first experience in standardized testing is unique because they have never been not only administered a standardized test, but also it's completely on computers. So there's no written portions, there's nothing that looks like exactly like their classwork. So it's a new experience for our students. Also important to note in grades 3, 4, and 5, at the time that the Smarter Balance was administered this year, was a little unique in our district as 100% of the teachers in grades 3, 4, and 5, 100% of the classrooms were preparing for a move across the district. And the window for administration actually ends at the end of May. And within 2 weeks, they all had to be packed and moved in out of their buildings. So we'd like to think that that disruption was minimal. Teachers were certainly not packing boxes during the administration of the tests. However, there were boxes present, there were end of year activities, getting kids excited about going to their new buildings, getting teachers ready for transitioning as well. So when we look across though, it's really important to also know that our achievement is quite high in all grade levels. And as the presentation continues, you will see that even when we do have a drop, we are very strongly present in our DIRG and in the state. So I'm gonna actually show you that state presentation. When we look at Smarter Balanced Assessment and we combine grades 3 through 8 and we compare it across the state, Madison Public Schools is 4th in the state of Connecticut for ELA and 5th in our results in mathematics. So that's despite moving and transforming 3 through 5, which we're really excited about. You can see we're in very good company and with our results. When we look across the DIRG, as we did in the SAT results, you can see that Madison is number 1 in Smarter Balanced Assessments when, again, looking at 3 through 8, percentage of students at or above goal, and pretty comfortably so from a statistical kind of perspective. And also in the DIRG, when you break apart by grade levels and you look at that DIRG representation, you can see that we are well into the upper third in every single grade level. Similar in math, we are again number 1 in our DIRG. Our district reference group is the DIRG spelled out, named out. So we are again number 1 in the DIRG in mathematics on those combined grades. And again, a very strong showing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 in the DIRG ranked accordingly. So I'm going to pass it on to Paulson. We're going to dig deeper into these grade levels in these scores and see what every school has to enlighten us about. So Martha, I'm going to pass it to you.
All right, thank you. Hello, everyone. Well, there's a lot of celebration going on at Polson, you could imagine in the spring. Well deserved in the ELA. The numbers speak for themselves. We didn't just maintain, we excelled. And it's exciting. Yes, we were number 1 in the DIRG, but also in state, grade 7 was 6th, grade 8 was 5th, and grade 6 was 4th in the whole state for ELA. So pretty exciting for us there. We've had some strong numbers and they got stronger. Not to repeat the story, but here we are in math, where we are again, number 1 in the DIRG. Here, grade 7 was 8th in the state, grade 8 was 4th in the state, and grade 6 was 2nd in the state for mathematics. So again, you can see the numbers are wonderful. You know, it's interesting. We look at students who are achieve a score of 1, 2, 3, or 4. And across the board, we increased the people in the 4 range, and that was exciting. And then we got nervous because in grade 7 math, we saw that we increased in the level 2, and until we looked closely, we actually took those students at level 1 and we cut them by 50% and drove them into level 2. Now, I can't wait to get them into level 3 this year. But the point is the differentiation that we're doing, we really are meeting the kids where we are. We're not just forgetting level 1. They are just as critical as those kids that have the potential for level 4. So that's all the way across the board for Polson, so we're excited about that. Hello, science. We are so happy to see you this year. Aren't you all so happy to see you this year? That is unheard of. And we have had, I know Craig has had some of his superintendent friends wonder exactly what we did to grow more than 20 points in grade 8 NGSS. We've had districts reach out to Catherine and to Diana Floyd, our coordinator, including a district that did better than we did. Because no one has had that kind of growth that we did have. So we are just proud of our science. Just to look at it again, let's just have another visual there because we can't have too much. So again, as Gail said earlier, comfortably, we are at number 1 in our DIRG and just proud of what the department did, what the leadership did from central office to Catherine Hart, Diana and her teachers really pulled together. And the students, they really, they did just a great job. So we are quite proud of NGSS. Looking forward to keeping that and growing even more. Any questions on Polson?
Great job. Yeah.
All right.
So I just want to pause you right on this slide, because as you share, my phone has been ringing off the hook from colleagues. So last year, Polson did receive some criticism based on their science scores, so I don't want to let that pass. I want to thank you and Catherine for all your work and leadership in this area. It was a 34% increase. You were where South Windsor is, not to pick on our friends, the Bobcats from South Windsor, but you were in that area, you were third from the bottom, and you moved to the top with the extra attention, the extra work. It is a different group of students, so we have to always recognize that, whether it's good news or bad news, but it's a different group of students. But also it was that leadership that you talked about, and that work and the tension, and the teachers took this really to heart. They took the criticism hard, and I want to share that with the board. The teachers they took that criticism hard, and they took it to heart, and they put that into their work. But we saw excellent teaching. We did not see preparation for NGSS, though. We saw excellent teaching throughout. It was a 21.7% point increase. And we've been joking, we've been waiting for that call from the state to say, what's going on, or reviewing each test or something like that. So I just want to thank you for your attention, and congratulate the Polson Middle School for all the results. As Martha shared, it was the top in the dirt, top in the state. It's just really incredible results. So thank you.
Can I just add on that the board's piece of that? When we saw these results a couple of years ago, as a board, we did question, we know that you guys are working hard and that you do great work. And we weren't trying to criticize, we were just trying to say, hey, what's going on here with science? We feel like we can do better. And Gail pointed out that we were kind of just at the beginning of the curriculum development cycle for science. We had done English, we had done math, we hadn't done science yet. And so a lot of the good work that Dr. Cook is talking about came out of that curriculum development. And after we had a chance to modify the curriculum to adjust for some of the things we were seeing, look at the result.
Right.
It's just amazing. And again, it goes back to what Steve always says about our amazing curriculum cycle and involving the teachers and all the buy-in we get, and the attention and the passion that you guys bring to it.
Yeah.
It's really great to see a result like this.
The work on alignment, not just with NGSS, which we've always done, but the realignment and the reordering of units and using inner orbit in a different way, even where we put the test. So for the first time in the spring, we used to have NGSS at the end of our testing window. So everyone in the whole building, we stop and we do LA, and we stop and do math, and then, oh, 8th grade, you have to do science. And we were serious about it. But we now put science in the middle of our testing window. The atmosphere in the building was different. I think it was, and that was only one small part of it. So it wasn't a matter of teachers just work harder and you can do this. Kids just work harder and you can do it. There were some conscious decisions and changes made to get the numbers.
Great job.
Great work.
Shouldn't leave this slide up all Notice how Dr. Cook spoke, we'll just leave this slide. Also, it's a tough act to follow, but what am I? So the end of Brown Intermediate School, as you know, the next 3 schools we'll talk about currently really don't exist, with Brown becoming Brown Elementary School, and obviously Jeffrey and Neck River, and I'll let them speak to that. Our current students from last year, obviously Polson, they moved to, and then the current 5th grade, when they're in 4th grade, they're split up now into 2 different schools. Having a great time in both, by the way. So again, we're very proud of our scores in grade 4. As you can see, at 85%, that was first in the DERG. We only have 1 first. Polson has like 9 firsts, so it's hard to but again, pretty consistent. Also in grade 5, we were 5th in the DERG in the LA scores there. And then in math,
at 80% represents a second place in the DERG. And in grade 5, that 74% represents a fifth in the DERG. Down a few points in both grades, again, different cohort. But again, we're very proud of our scores. And then our NGSS, that has stayed really consistent over the last 3 years. And I think what Martha was talking about is some of the things we did a few years ago was just really making a concerted effort and a commitment. And again, not to repeat, we always put science on the back end, and then there's a little bit of test fatigue, and it's the fifth graders have to go back and keep taking tests while everyone else is done, and just a little bit of a change in where you put it. And again, it's not easy work. Those are tough tests. So when you move it around and you make a different commitment to our testing schedule, et cetera, it does reap benefits. But again, those numbers again, that's 76, and that puts us 8 out of 20 in the DERG. Yeah. Any questions on the LA math for Brown? Again, I was really proud of our teachers, and I know Kelly and Becky will say the same. We talked about the distractions of the spring. It could have been a lot more distractions. There was so much moving, different grade levels, different buildings, some unknowns, and there was really a commitment to the process and to the cause, and they did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. What's that?
Oh, Tuesday.
I don't stay.
All right. Good evening. Thanks for having us. Oh. I'm just so excited to get into all the numbers for ELA. So as many of my colleagues have said tonight, it's great company to be in. Top 5 in ELA for our grade 3, 4th in the DERG, and 5th in state. I think for our 8 and 9-year-olds, their first time taking an assessment such as this, while you did see a dip, I think my colleagues tonight have shared some of the rationale as to why, understandable. But moving forward, well, let's see, we had the 72%. And then just a comparison and breakdown between both schools. And then math,
yes, equally as strong, if not even sort of more of a strength were our math scores. So you saw 72 in LA, you see 77 in math. When you look at our 3rd graders from last year and compared them to 3rd grade scores from the previous year, as Kelly mentioned, we did see that little bit of a dip. And nobody likes to see your numbers in red or that awful little minus sign in front of the numbers 6 and 7 points. Well, it's certainly not what we hoped for. We were not necessarily surprised with this cohort. Another reason that we were expecting a bit of a dip, yes, it was a busy time of the spring, but this particular cohort as a district has a significantly higher percentage of students that receive services under an IEP. So where typically a class is anywhere between 13 and 16% students with a disability, this cohort is almost up to 19-20%. So this is a group of, again, 8-year-olds that for some of them, sitting down, attending to the computer, being asked these questions is going to be really, really tough for. So the fact that we were at 72 and 77%, we were super proud of. We certainly have extra eyes on this cohort moving forward to 4th grade this year. You can see again how it breaks down between the 2 schools from last year. But we're really just excited to move forward into our new buildings, to be an administrative team of 4. Sometimes hang out with us. And really start to, take that information, take what we know, and be these larger buildings that will now this spring test in grades 3, 4, and 5. So again, we have special eyes on this particular cohort. We have another new group of 3rd graders that will be taking the test and some veteran 5th graders that will be with us. So Sherry's going to talk about some of those plans that we're making again, so that maybe we can have those reds and those little minuses for next year.
Yeah, as Becky mentioned, thinking about that third grade cohort, moving into fourth grade, some of the things that we did when we thought about planning for them. For this year, we did create smaller class sizes. Our fourth grade cohort at NEC has gone from 5 to 6 classes to decrease that class size. We've also reallocated special education staffing across both buildings to support the needs. We now have 2 special education teachers at Neck River in that fourth grade classroom, again, supporting the needs of those students. We really looked closely at the SBAC test to see where specifically students kind of fell short. And we have identified for math and ELA the areas that we intend to focus more closely on this year. For math, that was elapsed time, patterns, measurement, and conversions. And for ELA, it was reading, listening, and research and inquiry. We also are going to have the continuation of our coaching cycles. We're very fortunate to have the coaches that support our teachers. So we are going to have the continuation of the coaching cycles. And lastly, we are refining the use of small group rotations in the classrooms to allow more small group instruction for those students that need it in particular throughout the year.
And something important to point out too is that there are structures and best practices that we have had in place and we will continue to have in place. And that being, we will continue to administer IABs that create that familiarity with questioning and format and the use of tools. What's so important that we believe is that we use it as a teaching tool. It's an instructional component of a child's day. So it's not taking the tests and then knowing the results and then hoping for the next day IAB to perform better. It's really utilizing it as an instructional teaching tool. We know that's best practice. That's something that will continue. The work that we do with the support of the paraprofessionals and the coaches of that small tier 1 targeted small group work, that's going to continue across each of the buildings and across the grade levels. I think that targeted focus to reinforce and remediate specific areas really helps support our students, and it informs our teachers through the use of progress monitoring that looks at how we can group those students so that it's fluid and those students are advancing at the level that we would anticipate. Continuing 3 times a year our data SST meetings, that really allows all staff, interventionists, teachers, coaches, administration to have a clear pulse on where each student is in literacy and numeracy. So I thought that that's a really important piece to point out as well. And that goes across literacy and numeracy. In science, where our next steps will be is we've reconfigured our grade 5 content delivery for more specificity in science and math, social studies, and ELA. There was an audit of the K-5 units to determine alignment with NGSS. Obviously, we wrote the science curriculum to fill in gaps and support our alignment with NGSS, implementing new curriculum and assessments with ongoing supportive PLC work, and creating refined STEAM units that expanded for all K-5 with our STEAM teachers as well. So that's been a real super plus. So thank you for the support on that as well, for sure. That's the great celebrations at our level. That's us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. And all that while you were transitioning.
Yeah, I think that, again, that's a huge success story. I think that one time when you're looking at data, you always try to keep that historical perspective in place and understand what's going on. At the elementary level, you could have 2 teachers on maternity, and that could change the makeup of that team and change things. Moving buildings is unbelievable, to return those results. So thank you for all your work of keeping the eye on, instruction and assessment and, well, supporting teachers through that process. So, congratulations to the team. Thank you. And, our growth scores are phenomenal. I think that's one of the things that's been pointed out. Really proud of that. And we're excited to see what the assessment report card comes out from the state level. So see that, we'll provide that to the board as well.
Any last questions for any administrators here? Thank you all so much. We love getting this report every year, and it just seems to get better and better every year. So Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
It's such great.
Thank you.
Thank you, teacher.
Okay, moving on to our enrollment report. So every October 1, we provide the board with the current enrollment of the district by grade level. You'll see pretty much on target in terms of what we thought the enrollment would be at this point. We do see a shift though, and I wanted to point that out. Higher enrollment at Neck River than we predicted for Brown based on what our enrollment projections were. We're working on some plans to address that. I've shared with the board previously. We're looking at pre-K in particular. We have pre-K split between Brown and Neck River. If we have another similar size kindergarten class to Neck River, I think we'd be over kind of where we want to be in terms of that enrollment, as well as you will see in the budget. We will need 2 additional teachers for Neck River in grade 5 next year, and so that's something that we're predicting for the budget, as well as watching those kindergarten K and 1 numbers. We may have the ability to look at teaching at Brown, teachers at Brown, to maybe one of those teachers would move to Neck River. Because we ended up with a lower kindergarten enrollment than predicted. I will say, based on enrollment too, we are having a full study done. I just received the NESDEC study today, but the more important one, the more accurate one, is the one we commissioned that should be due back later this month, early November. They wait for October 1 numbers as well, so that's what kind of gave them the final information from our end in terms of going forward. So look forward to sharing that with the board and having those discussions as we get into budget time as well. Any questions on enrollment?
Does that represent a bubble of student enrollment in a particular cohort that would have graded for next year?
It's pretty consistent. It's a little higher than the current 5th grade, and the current 5th grade enrollments probably, per class is a little bit higher than we'd like to be. You see in Neck River is 23.3, and so we have only the 4 classes. Remember, 4th and 5th, that is a teaming model, so it moves in even numbers, so you wouldn't have you don't have the ability to add 1 more teacher at grade 5. It would be 2. So we just see the larger number going up in Neck River, and we're already at 23.3, so that's why we would make that change. Brown, at 5th grade, 21.8, that's right within our target. That's right within our enrollment projections, and we'd like to keep the lower grade numbers lower. Always is if we're given the choice, but sometimes it's hard to make those choices with just the 2 schools.
Awesome.
And then just the last thing that I had for tonight was we were asked again. I shared to look at CIP for a couple reasons. I know we were excited to get that done early in the process this year, but the town has asked us to look at that in the out years. In years 4 and 5, our projected ask is beyond where their models kind of put us to be able to fund. And then the other piece is they're asking us to put in solar panels for Neck River in the CIP, and if it is not done through the building project. So right now they're completing the building project, and there is funding available. They don't know the exact number, but it is trending to the positive. And then so I think the town will make a decision. Does that money go towards solar panels? Does it go towards the demolition of Ryerson? The town will be making those decisions. If they do put solar panels in, that would be offset by town funds. It's not like they're asking us to forego a school project for that. I think the town is fully committed to doing the solar panels at some point, but I'm going to put that on the agenda for the 28th and have some discussion on that. I'll have a draft CIP out to you for a recommendation for that.
And my understanding is also from the new school building committee meetings is that there will also be some federal and state reimbursement potential for the solar project as well, so.
Depends on the timing of it. I
Yeah.
think that they're looking at that, certainly, sooner the better is more predictable, you know, in the future years, we don't have that. And that's why I think they'd like to get it done earlier, but, yeah, we're watching that.
Thank you. And did you discuss with Peggy that new drip fund, if it gets fully funded? It's a new, I think there's 30 million a year over the next 2 years in money to reimburse for non-capital improvements to schools. I'm sure it's competitive and there's only 30 million a year. We may only get a portion of what we put in for, but it certainly may be able to help offset it. It needs to be bonded still by the governor and the bonding commission. But if that goes through, if that comes through, then that may be also another area that will offset some of the projects we have in EIP.
Exactly.
To the benefit of the taxpayer.
Yeah, I think that a good target for that could be potentially the paving we'll need to do over the next coming years. You know, we pushed that out into years 4 and 5. We still feel good about that. But that could be an example. Windows is already reimbursed, so that wouldn't necessarily be that case, but we certainly have projects in mind.
Yeah.
You know, for funding whenever we find out that what's available for us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I know you've done some advocating for that. We've also done some advocating because there's still that piece, that final step for that drip funding to be available to us. So thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. All right, number 5, any board member comments? Board member comments, anybody? No? All right. I think I'll forego comments this time. I'm sure you guys are happy to hear that. Item 6, audience response to information presented. We have no audience here. Anyone online? No, okay. Moving on to 7. The consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Stephen, and do I have a second over here?
Second that.
Emily, thank you. Any discussion?
I did have one question. Looked like the placements were exceeded, above 100%, is that? I went from memory, so I apologize. External placements.
That is prior to reimbursement at this point as well, and we do encumber, even though you know, that's not all deferred, but we just encumber on that account. So yeah, it's always an account we're watching, but you are correct. That's but that's prior to any reimbursements.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good question.
Thank you. All right, any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? 7, 7-0. All right, motion carries 7-0. Item number 9, board committee and liaison updates, curriculum and student development. Stephen.
Yes, on October 9th, we had a special curriculum. Meeting. And it was a presentation, one of the best presentations I've seen since I've been on the board. AI literacy, and the presentation was geared toward what will come later in our meeting tonight, board approval of a new content area, AI literacy, and their position statement. You know, this work, there were probably about a dozen teacher leaders that did this presentation last Thursday. That came out of the work of about 50 members of administrators, coordinators, literacy coaches, instructional technology specialists, library media specialists,
over the summer, an intensive and highly productive workshop. What came out of that workshop was statements about why AI literacy is essential for our students. A position statement came out, teacher and student guidelines, a district design overlay, an AI task design, and AI literacy guiding document. This is a beginning effort and a new content area that will continue to evolve. So this is not, they're not asking for what's more often the position of approving a curriculum. This is approving a new direction and the continuation and pursuit of this work. You know, I will say, it was very focused and people had very good information. You know, and there was a lot of information, so I'm not going to share all of that at this point, but I will say this. What was embedded throughout the entire presentation was the beliefs and values that are embedded in all the work across the district were clearly embedded in this effort. And there are multiple statements of things like AI is a partner, not a substitute for human thought. Multiple times, human relationship at the heart of learning. And what was very, very clear, and the members of the committee and myself commented, you know, here is an entirely new area that the district and the administration and teachers are responding to. What was very clear is the framework for tackling any curricular work is so established and so in place, and there is such flexibility and adjustment and innovation and fluency in managing change that came through. I mean, you just got there and my God, you could present any challenge to this group of people and they know how to go at it. They know how to frame it against profiles of a graduate. They know how to embed the fundamental values that we want for our kids within the curriculum. It was, you know, it was amazing. And the opportunity to see, you know, that presentation, which was taped, I guarantee you it will knock you out. You know, I left that meeting just phenomenally proud of that work and confident, you know, that this district is going to use AI as a tool. AI is not going to be the driver in this district. You know, our mission, our focus, our instructional plans of what we want for our kids, all right, will be, you know, embedded in all of them. So it's a great presentation, and you know, members of the committee have left feeling like, you know, these folks have it and this district has it, and it is going to unfold in a way that our kids are going to be prepared as they go and they leave in ways that I think most students will not. You know, and there were surveys in terms of, you know, our students saying, you know, it was what the numbers, it was like 76% of the students said, 74% believe that AI will play a significant role in their professional lives, and 46% think schools don't adequately prepare them to use it. I don't know what other district anywhere is out and in doing this in such a thoughtful way, embedding profiles of the graduate and all the components of our curriculum development process like this is. So, you know, something to be proud of, and you know, I think you will enjoy in the future when they ultimately come here with a curriculum to improve it. The committee voted unanimously to suggest to the board that they approve this as a content area and presented the statement. There was no public comment. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Stephen, can I ask, do you see this model of curriculum area adoption as being able to serve more generally across all technologies and not just necessarily for AI?
You know, I mean, interesting you should ask that, because through the presentation, that's precisely what I was thinking, you know, because obviously, you know, when the presentation articulated, there are dangers to this technology if it isn't managed, isn't used properly, and we don't instruct students about what those dangers are, what are the right uses, what are the wrong uses, and then give them practice and opportunity to do that. But I sat through that presentation and go, yes, this was very focused on AI in a particular content area, but you could extrapolate from much of what was said to the, you know, the area of technology in general, you know, as it moves into the sphere of education and everybody's life, you know, so, you know. I mean, I look at it and I go, I mean, I definitely, you know, I'm an educator in my whole life. I walked away from that and go, there is virtually nothing that you couldn't put to this team of 50 people. And this wasn't one day, which is like unheard of, but there's nothing you couldn't put to them that they couldn't work with and grapple and come up with some very good results.
Will that be?
Every collected.
Any other questions or, right, we will be voting later. You'll have an opportunity to ask any questions or raise any discussion points on the actual adoption during the action item. Second portion of the agenda. Any questions? Thank you, Steve. Facilities Committee, Emily.
We have no report. Our next meeting is November 8th.
Okay. Finance Committee, Galen.
We did not meet. Our next meeting is the 28th.
Personnel Committee, Maureen.
Personnel Committee has not met since our last meeting. Our next meeting will be coming up on November 6th, and we'll have our negotiations with the nurses.
Policy Committee, Diane's not here. Did she share with you a report yet?
There's no report.
Yeah, there was no meeting, so I think there's nothing to report. And Learn Liaison, in your new position, Tony, is there anything to report?
Sure. I attended my first meeting last week, last Tuesday in Old Lyme, and my timing was pretty good. A few days earlier, they had called an emergency meeting to approve, I guess this approval process has been going on for some time, on and off, and to approve the purchase of a property from the town of Waterford, St. Gabriel's Avenue to be specific, to primarily a lot of programs, mostly early start programs, more specifically the infant child care program would be one of them. That building, I believe, closed today. Today is the 14th. So I looked on the website before I came here. I wouldn't have expected them to update it right away, but that was the plan. They purchased that building. They're already have the infrastructure going for new programs there. I mentioned the infant child care program. It's initially been earmarked for 18 students. There's already a 30 student waiting list in addition to that. Also, Learn currently has 20 to 40 job openings. Now, I normally wouldn't get an employment report, but a large part of that is because it's interesting. Why the flux? I think a large part of it is the growth and the programs the new building will bring. But also what I found very interesting as a former special educator is It's really hard to predict how many people you're going to need at the beginning of the year as the IEPs are in flux and in transit, and you're not too sure at this point what the demands are going to be, what some students will need, what other students moving into the district will need. Most interesting to me, last year, to exemplify this, last year there was one student identified as medically fragile. This year there are 6. So obviously with all the needs these students deserve and will be getting, that will change a lot of what you're going to do with the budget and what you can do with the money that's already been set, and how you're going to handle 40 versus 24 or whatever fewer job openings that are there. But I was very impressed with the staff and the director and the involvement of the people there. Sounds like this is a time of good transition, but also they're running on, I wouldn't say bare bones, they're doing it well, but you know, there's no excess there. They have to be careful and make sure the IEP, of course, number one, the IEP demands are being met. The last thing was there is a round table, I guess they have, which they just throw out ideas on what they want to do. And the number one thing, surprise, everybody wanted to talk about was cell phone usage. And we're going to continue that next time. I was really surprised it was an issue, not just in the districts that the people came from, but in the individual facilities that Warren has, you know, depending on the needs of the student. The overall consensus and wish list was that they just wish somebody from above would just pass an edict that this is what you have to do, so we could just deal with it once and for all. But that's not going to happen probably, but that will be continued next time.
Thank you. Good report. Any questions for Tony? Thank you. All right, we're up to our action items now. Action item number 10. I need a motion to adopt the Madison Public Schools AI literacy position statement and recognize AI literacy as a curricular content area. So, Stephen, can I get a second?
Second.
Tony, thank you. All right, any discussion? Now, we were first presented with this literacy position statement at our retreat. Everybody had a chance to review it. Any questions or comments on that, or also questions or comments on recognizing AI literacy as a curricular content area?
I'll just comment, I think the guidelines in particular, coming from someone who's not an AI expert in any way at all. I think the way that it's been summarized really makes sense to a general person and a parent of kids in the district. And I just encourage us to, share this information as widely as possible for parents and folks to know how thoughtfully you're approaching this, like Stephen said, because it's helpful. And the role that it can play that's productive and helpful, and not what some of us might feel like, I want to think about this or look at this, like there's a value to this. And I think these documents do a good job of showing the benefits of it. So I just appreciate the work and look forward to sharing with the community.
Yeah, I think as usual, the work that was done in this district to prepare for this was so thoughtful. Like Emily said, it was well researched. And it will lay the groundwork for positive, wholesome interaction with an incredible new technology that has the potential to bowl us all over, but also has the potential to allow our district to prepare our students to be way ahead and to be head and shoulders among peers in their cohorts as they exit our district. And I just think it's amazing whereas a lot of districts are burying their heads in the sand, or they're taking a very negative approach, like, well, it's just all about cheating, and so therefore we don't want to touch it. And we don't want to, bring the positive aspects in because we're afraid of the negative aspects. I think this is such a well thought out plan that where we always get requests from districts around the world, and certainly around the country and around the state for you know, how we do our curriculum and how we're so successful in certain things. I predict that this is going to be a curricular content area that we're going to get a lot of inquiry into. And I think we're really going to benefit our students. So congratulations to the folks who put it together, and thank you all. I intend to vote for it heartily.
I just want to second what Seth and Emily said. It's remarkable work and we do need to get it out there so people know. Because I was blown away by the thoughtfulness that went into your work and we need to let our community know. Good job, thank you.
Else? All right, let's bring it to a vote. All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Abstentions, no. Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. Thank you. Now to something a little bit more mundane. Action item 11, I need a motion to approve the disposal of used books and equipment. All right. Thank you, and Kathy, was that you? Thank you for the second. Any discussion? Tony?
I'm just curious what disposal means.
So it's different for everything that comes through here. So the books, it may be recycling. When we're talking about electronics, we have somebody that takes those for us, so we pay to have them dispose of properly.
So these aren't sold or given in a used book sale or anything like that?
No, typically when it gets to this point,
You're gone.
it's past, well past its usage. We are going through, for example, like now that we're at the point I've shared with the board, for the old equipment from Ryerson and Jeffrey that and some from Brown, we're looking at having a tax sale after the 10th. It's the second step. We're in that process now. The town is reviewing what their needs are, and then we'll go to tax sale for the public, a free tax sale. We have to charge anything, but they're able to come and grab a desk or a chair or something that might be memorable. Some of them may have been sitting on them not that long ago. So, good. All right, bring it to a vote. All in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Action item 12. I need a motion to approve a donation from EduKit Inc. To Neck River Elementary School in the amount of $1,423.47 for supplies. And I believe this is one of those deals where you have a contract with a provider, and based on how much is purchased, they give back a certain amount towards supplies. Yes. So it's a standard contract provision.
I had a question about that one.
Oh, wait, let's get a motion first. Do I have a motion to accept this? Caitlin, thank you. Do I have a second? Second. Maureen, thank you. Okay, discussion, Emily.
That was one of my questions, what they are. But then also it said for supplies, but then in the form it said field trips.
Yeah, so it's a donation to the field trip account.
Okay.
That they are.
Other than to thank everyone for their donation, thank you. All in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously, 7-0. Thank you. Action item 13, I need a motion to approve a donation from the Jeffrey PTO to Neck River Elementary School in the amount of $9,000 for field trips. And before I take the motion in the second, I just want to explain again, you know, Jeffrey PTO is disbanding and it's going to be replaced by essentially Neck River PTO. So I think this is part of the transitioning process of moving some of the funds over that they raised as Jeffrey PTO over to Neck River PTO. So can I get a motion? Maureen, can I get a second? Second, Stephen, thank you. Any discussion? No, see questions? No, see none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries 7-0. Action item number 14, I need a motion to approve a donation again from the Jeffrey School PTO to Neck River Elementary School in the amount of $3,850 to fund Scholastic, Pebble Go, and World Book subscriptions. So as again, where they used to fund those subscriptions for Jeffrey School, now they'll be funded for Neck River. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Emily, seconded by Kathy, thank you. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. No abstentions, motion carries 7-0. Action item 15, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the September 16th Board of Ed meeting. Tony? We got a second? Stevie? Any discussions, any requests for changes, amendments? No, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Seeing no abstentions, motion carries 7-0. Similarly, I need a motion for action item number 16 to approve the minutes of the September 30th, 2025 Board of Education retreat.
So moved.
Emily, do I have a second?
Second.
Kathy, thank you. Any discussion? Pretty straightforward, those minutes. All in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? No. Motion carries 7-0. Anyone request any future agenda items? Seeing none. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. If that's from Maureen.
Second.
Seconded by Kathy, thank you. Any discussion on adjournment? Be nice. All right, all in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Abstentions. All right, motion carries 7-0. To adjourn at 8:11.